La 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 la, la la la. Inspired by true events, the greatest podcast to be broadcast into your brain.
Welcome, welcome. This is Inspired by Movies, the podcast. My name is MK. My pronouns are they, them.
My name is Courtney, or Pancake, or Cake, depending, and my pronouns are she, they.
I'm Emily, and my pronouns are her, she.
Today we are going to be talking about the movie The Disappointments Room. And before we get started on that, I actually wanted to talk about Jared Leto's cult.
Let's talk about Jared Leto.
The cult of Jared Leto. That's like the picture. I'll have to post it as well, but like the picture, he's just... He's got all these,
the white
basically, they all look like
shit.
women, and they're all following him.
Yep.
And he's in white.
Yep.
They're
all in
long
white.
ass
He
hair.
looks like Jesus, and
He looks like classic white Jesus in white robes, and then like a modern human that looks like they need guidance. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Except those ladies look like they're wanting to go to a music festival. So.
oh, well, it is.
Yeah, it is.
So they have like this whole island. It's a 3-day music festival, complete with yoga and movie screenings.
Spiritual retreat.
The band tweeted photos of Leto leading hundreds of people, also dressed in white, captioned, "Yes, this is a cult. Hashtag Mars Island." So basically it's just like a cult revolving around 30 Seconds to Mars.
Why, though?
I don't know.
Like, at least, religious cults are like, hey, here's our weird, fucked up interpretation of the Bible. This is just 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah.
30 Seconds to Mars, it's like you don't really know other than, we're
But-
just here for a music festival. Are we going to slit our wrists together? We don't know.
Right? And they declared themselves a cult. Like, yes, we are a cult. And, okay, so the band invited fans who call themselves the Eklion, to a retreat in Croatia. And that's like the island that they go to is this retreat. But yeah, it's basically like just their band, their following.
It's just their
I'm just
band.
like trying to get more.
Just trying to keep the fandom alive.
Yeah.
It's like the new kind of Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they I saw this.
When
Where-
you pay $1,500 on Patreon, you get to come to our island for 3 days.
Yeah,
And
no,
never
like it's crazy
leave.
because I looked up pricing of what it costs to go to this.
Oh gosh,
Island?
please tell me I was close.
Dear Lord.
Let's see. I remember thinking like, oh God. Okay, so the package of the retreat costs.
What does the package include? First, please tell me.
Let's see. So
It's just like, well, you get to go, you get a tent, you get a bed.
a 2-night outdoor camping experience cost
So no tent.
applicants $999.
You get to
The
sleep in
ticket
the
buyer
dark.
had to carry along their tent. For those who wanted to have their own space, the VIP section, they parted with about $64.99. Like, it's really expensive.
Wait, like
6,000?
6,000, yeah.
like $6,500.
Yeah, basically.
I'm
like-
thinking of like
Between
So how-
that $1,000 and $6,500 will get you to this music festival. They're just charging people a shit ton of money.
they're just using it to make money.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just like using it to have like an island.
They're leaning
Be
into
like-
it.
Yeah, so they're the ones that declared themselves a cult, which is stupid.
They don't even have a purpose or anything.
No, they just play music.
They're just like, hi.
Yeah, just get high, do yoga.
Yeah. You're the best at office quotes. You quote Creed Bratton on cults.
Yes, do the thing.
I was involved in many cults, both as a follower and a leader. You have more fun as a follower, but make more money as a leader. But yeah, so They're like, Jared Leto, you look like fucking Jesus. Let's make a cult.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was crazy. Stupid.
It's ridiculous.
But even what's more stupid than that is this movie, The Disappointments
Oh
Room.
my God.
I mean, it's
so
in the
bad.
name. It's in the name. Come on. Like, I was thinking it would be something better, but...
Okay, well, I mean, okay. The Disappointments Room, it's a shitty name. It's a shitty name for a movie. I've seen it on Netflix so many times, and I've passed by it simply because the title is stupid.
It's disappointing.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's called The Disappointments Room. It's like The Bye-Bye Man, which I've never watched simply because it's called The Bye-Bye Man. The story behind it is not disappointing. It's,
yeah.
it's disappointing in a different way.
Yeah.
In a humanitarian way.
But
Well,
it's not interesting.
Yeah. Courtney was saying that they could have done it like 30 minutes more and made it better.
Mhm.
Because this movie is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
it was just okay.
Yeah, it
so
was-
much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah, so much better.
It was so overdone in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
My biggest descriptor for this movie is the bass never dropped.
Mhm.
Not
The
once.
bass
It never dropped.
It's
And
so
also-
perfect.
Seriously.
I feel like they were trying to go for that thing where it's like, we're going to end it on an ominous note where it's like, it could go in any direction. But in reality, they're just kind of dropping it.
Yeah.
There's no like,
was-
oh, it could have gone this way or it could have gone this way. It just ended.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, what happened next? It was just,
Yeah.
Oh.
There's like
okay.
this there's like this faux feeling of closure. It's supposed to feel like closure,
but it's not.
but it's not.
Also, Kate Beckinsale's in it, and she's
she's
blonde.
She's
Ew.
blonde.
And she looks awful.
She
They-
could have been
Maybe they did it on purpose, but
to make
she
you
just
unhappy.
like
disappointed.
Make
Well,
her
no,
look crazy.
I mean the
We'll make her
blonde. But in addition to the blonde hair, maybe they did this on purpose, where they just like made her face just look completely just like flushed out. Like
Yeah.
she looked like a corpse. She had no color on her lips, and because her hair was blonde, it was making it
Very
so much
washed
weird.
out,
Like it was just
yeah.
she just looked completely washed out.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. Like, I feel like it's a tool because, like, she's supposed to have just been, like, having this
Right? That's what I was thinking.
episode and, like, the whole don't get sick again, you know, that
don't
sort of
get sick,
thing.
mommy. Kate Beckinsale is the lead. The guy who plays her husband, his name is Mel Radio. Or, that's what it looked like, Radio. Mel Radio. But
Male radio.
Radio.
The radio for men.
It's like,
Man pillow.
no, the Bic for women.
Bic
But,
for
yeah.
women. Yeah.
Or not Bic.
Yeah,
no, the pen.
Yeah,
right?
the big pen for
Yeah.
women. Ellen
Mel
DeGeneres went
Rido.
to town.
Radio.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
it's radio,
Radio.
but with the I in a different spot.
Oh,
Say his name
okay.
again.
Mel Rido.
Rido. Okay.
Rido.
I'm just dyslexic.
It's okay.
Okay.
I
I
understand.
would've thought the same.
So those are the two mains. Anyways, let's this was Emily's pick, so we're just gonna have her take lead on this one.
I'll start out. My first note to this movie is they are driving along as a family in a car, singing along to a jaunty tune, and stopping at many a farm stand, which Kate Beckinsale is not happy about. And that cuts to a rainy approach to their new home.
Oh, and I wrote that the husband is just obnoxiously excited about living in the country.
Yep.
Where he's like, we're using 4-wheel drive. Not many people can say that.
And he's
We're-
like,
we can't. Like,
Okay, adversely, I could see where they were going with that. Like, he is, like, purposely trying to make this a cool experience
pump
for
it up.
everyone. Because
Yeah.
they're exiting a really fucked up experience, and this is supposed to be the fix.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can see where he's like, we're starting a new life, and this is the best, and he's trying so hard to dig it in.
That makes sense.
Like, that's where I got from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. And I guess that's what I got as well. I was just like...
I am that person, so I know that.
Yeah.
Well, also, too, like, you can take it as, like, some dude being super fucking obnoxious, or, like, from the information that we find out later. Which, like, they go into the whole, like, oh, this is a new beginning thing in that intro. But, like, we find out what fucking happens later.
Yeah.
And he's, like, hyping it up.
Yeah.
But also he's, like, being like, this is an important thing for our child to learn,
Yeah. Stability.
Like, food comes from farms. That's why we're stopping at 1,000 farm stands.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think... Like, he's just like... Throughout the movie...
Yeah,
I don't know. I just don't like the husband.
No,
he's so... Like, his face... Ugh.
No. Like, no joke. He sucks.
His face.
I think his acting style is a little bit too excited, where he should be... Yeah, he's just overacting.
Yes, too
Yeah.
much. It's too
Like,
much.
Because we are all theater majors, and we
That's right. We're very
know
qualified.
everything about movies.
I don't have a
clearly.
bachelor's in anything.
We're very qualified to talk about people's acting methods.
Yes.
And stuff like that. But I just felt like he was trying so hard
Yeah.
to be like this, like, dude from Brooklyn. And his face. I couldn't get down with his face.
Yeah. His face sucks.
His face sucks.
Throughout the entire movie, his face sucks.
Yeah.
It's never going to end.
Yeah.
They suck.
But
For 2 hours, folks.
I couldn't.
Not even.
So
they could have made it 2 hours, and it probably would have been a better movie because there would have been a satisfying ending.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
And
Sorry.
it
Spoilers.
wasn't. Yeah. Oh, spoiler.
Yeah, spoilers for everybody. You got the next scene?
They get to the house. They're like walking around, and she's like, there's like 2 mirrors facing each other. And she's like, why does anyone need like this many mirrors? And the husband, he's like, maybe he has a hot wife and wants to be able to see her 2 times or whatever. And
Ew.
I know. Like, first of all, no chemistry. Just
they
not
really
even between her and the kid.
Ew.
Just no chemistry whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So they're like trying to be all sweet. Or maybe they did it on purpose because she's all distressed and like kind of losing her mind a bit. The 2 mirrors facing each other, you get like the infinity mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like looking one way. When she turns back, everything turns except for one bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just... And then it like zooms in and it's...
So spooky.
It's so spooky. She just seems annoyed. Like, she was
bad.
annoyed in the
It's
car. I get it. They're going through some shit. But
Yeah.
I don't know, she just seems so annoyed.
There's an unpleasant montage depicting deep depression and possible loss of a child.
That...
It's heavy, it sucks, and it's all put into a montage, which, there it is.
Yeah.
She wakes up one morning and she hears dripping, and she's going around the house, really just kind of like exploring the house, and all the while hearing this dripping, she's looking for the source of the dripping. She tracks that dripping sound to a ceiling leak in one of the rooms. She puts down something to catch the leak, and then she looks out the window and she sees a black German Shepherd out on the lawn.
Oh, is it a German Shepherd? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's an all-black German Shepherd. It's just hell ominous.
He's a good bad boy.
He's a
His
good
name
boy, but
is
he's a bad boy.
Amos!
The first, like, few bits of the movie, and, like, their first days at the house, it's like raining.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of sets the tone for...
Let's make it rain. It makes it more spooky.
Yeah.
Well, also, too, it gives you the premise of the leak in the ceiling. After that German Shepherd sighting, there's a scene where she's setting up the kitchen, and, like, David comes in, and he's all like... There's a scene in the kitchen where David's all, you got coffee going? And Dana says, if you want coffee, you'll have to find the coffee maker. And then he slaps her on the ass and says, found her.
Oh,
and I
God.
hate it. I hate you.
Seriously.
That guy sucks.
I hate him.
No,
Like,
I
his
don't know
face
what it
sucks.
is.
And then, you know, he's told to say that because he's an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's extra shitty because he's got a shitty face.
Coming from the guy who stays in his jammies pretty much the whole movie.
The whole movie. He literally...
This whole, like, thing happens in the kitchen. She's like, fuck you. And he's like, is that a promise or a threat? And it seems to be like... I know. Like, ugh. Like, there seems to be... It's supposed to be, like, sexy banter. But, again, no chemistry. Like, he's saying it like he's pissed. Like, oh, is that a threat or a promise? And then she's like, it's a promising threat. I don't know. It's just no fucking chemistry.
And then he says it is a threatening promise. And you're just like, ugh.
No chemistry.
None.
Whatsoever.
Lucas is seemingly talking to himself after the whole bitch-ass, like, coffee maker.
Oh, let me
scene.
stop you right there.
Yes.
Before she goes to see Lucas, she's talking about a breakfast room. Just like, there's a leak in the breakfast
leak
room.
in the breakfast room.
Yeah, I'm like...
I have a breakfast room. It's called my kitchen.
Right? Like, there's actually another... Like, you have a real room called the breakfast room.
I have known a lot of rich people in my time who have very, very large houses, and they have never referred to a room as the breakfast room ever. Yeah. Like,
So it's just...
I was about to be like, I was like, wait, it's not a rich person thing?
Like, when I heard that in the movie, I was like, what? I mean, I guess it is a manor. It's not a mansion, it's a manor. Yeah. So, you know, I could be totally off base here.
My whole house is a breakfast room.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could eat breakfast wherever you want. It's your house.
That's why...
If I were to eat a fucking breakfast burrito on the John, that makes it a breakfast room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So...
It could also be the anti-breakfast room because of when you're done with it.
Courtney, you're so smart.
Breakfast room, dinner room, fucking...
We have a leak in the breakfast room. So Lucas is talking seemingly to himself. Dana comes in, sees the cat, and is all, no pets. But then Dad comes in and is all like, what do you got? Your mom's crazy. He and Lucas convince her to keep him.
Because
and then
he's
Rascal
a really
gets him.
good mouser.
He's a good mouser.
And, again, no chemistry.
None.
Even between her and the kid.
No.
None.
But also, Rascal is, like, in the next scene, super cool about his bath. A cat? Like...
A feral cat
at that. A feral cat. Super cool with getting a bath.
Man.
Doesn't check out. Sorry, folks.
No. When we were watching this movie, we all commented.
We were like, what the fuck is that cat doing?
Like, I was thinking about the last time I gave one of my cats a bath, and I got fucked.
Yeah.
Right? This cat is just like...
I'm afraid to give Noonie a bath for that reason.
Him and the son are, like, talking and, like, playing around, and this cat is like...
It's fine.
I'm good.
Not fine. First, yeah.
And then you have, like, that bubble behind his head, but it's not fine.
Yeah.
That, like,
not fine.
VH1 pop-up video shit.
Exactly.
But it wasn't fine. But it wasn't fine.
It wasn't.
There was the, like, one snippet where Lucas was just like, saying to Dana, being like, he said he's gonna protect me.
Oh, yeah.
And that comes in later.
That does come in. So the
Sorry.
cat, Rascal, the good mouser, and then that's when she steps outside to take pictures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she's in, like, the bit of bushes.
And the animal.
Yeah, and she's in, like, a bit of bushes. And, again, just, like, the jump, like, it scared me, like, the rustling. And you could tell it was the dog that she saw earlier. But then her husband was like, we should go to town to get groceries, get the lay of the land. And she's like, there's something out here. So they get to town, and he's, like, going on. He's like, that right there is an authentic barber shop, you know? It's just like...
I'm like, did I black out at that point? Like, Jesus Christ. We've never been to a town smaller than Brooklyn.
Right?
This
Yeah.
is country.
It's like, this is even better ice cream than the ice cream factory in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's like...
I was gonna say,
Duh!
they go into a general store where they meet Marty, who, by mistaking David as the architect
Oh, God.
and being weird to Dana for being the architect, well, she's a bit sexist, isn't she?
Totally.
The internal misogyny is real.
It's
That, like, small town, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
and
know?
it's like Marty Morrison.
Morrison.
Yeah, they walk in and they're like, "Oh, we heard about you. You bought the big old house," and she's talking about like recommendations of people who could help out with like the roof and stuff. And the thing that gets me is that she's recommending Ben Phillips Jr. The senior likes to drink, but the junior really knows his way around a hammer. That, I don't know what, it reminded me of that scene in Parks and Rec where Ron gets back with Tammy too. And he's like, she really knows her way around a penis. That's what that reminded me of. And I was like, oh, he knows his way around a hammer. Yeah.
Get it. And
then-
that is a current, that is a theme throughout.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the hammer.
Oh, they love that
No,
hammer.
he knows his way.
He knows his way around
around
the
the
hammer.
hammer.
And
Not
then,
in a sexy.
But
Yeah.
yes.
and then, that's when, that's when Marty mistakes David for the architect.
Yeah.
And she's like, I bet you know your way around a hammer too.
Oh,
And-
God, I never fucking picked up on that
Oh,
shit.
God, I know. And then Dana's like, actually, no, I'm the architect. And then all of a sudden she changes her tune.
Mhm.
She's like, well, that's a really big job.
Yeah.
My
Fucking-
favorite part of that is when the husband speaks up and he's like, what, you mean in between naps?
In between
Yeah.
my naps, I like to. Yeah.
Like, she was like, what does he do?
He's like,
Oh,
what?
you mean in between my naps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, absolutely shocked that,
A man does not take naps and a woman does not build a home.
right? How dare you? Exactly. I just thought that whole scene in the ice cream / like grocery shop
Mhm.
was just so like sexist, small town, but also like a little gay. But
Just a little gay.
he really knows his way around a hammer. It's like, come on.
He likes to pound it. He gets nailed.
I can't. It's so like.
Nailed it!
Oh God.
So it cuts to a scene where Dana wakes up from sleep, obviously, and she sees Lucas standing by a window in her room, and he's claiming there's a dog outside, and he's scared, and she reassures him there's no dog, whatever. You don't have to be scared. Even if you are scared, if something comes after you, I'll protect you. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Lucas's hands and arms are covered in blood. And he starts getting, mommy, blah, blah, and showing his arms. And then her hands and arms are covered in blood. And the front of her body's all covered in blood. And it sucks. And it turns out to be a dream. She wakes with a start out of this dream. Shitty, scary dream with shit that she's experiencing in real life. And so she goes to check on Lucas. And when she goes to check on Lucas, he's asleep. It's peaceful. And Rascal is on his bed, awake, just watching. Which is,
what cats do.
What cats fucking do. So she leaves to go outside to sneak a cigarette.
Oh yeah, sneaky cigarettes.
I do not understand people that think they can sneak cigarettes.
I do understand people who think they can sneak it. But also,
is it
it's
accurate?
not...
Like, can you do it, though?
No, you can't.
Yeah, no.
I can understand where you think you can, because I have been that person. But you can't.
My dad was a secret smoker. And I once found his Virginia Slims.
Stop it. Virginia Slims are such an old lady cigarette.
Yeah. It's funny because go on a store for
me, Sonny, and get me a pack of Virginia Slims.
Exactly. Like, my mom smokes Winston's, and my dad smoked Virginia Slims.
The fuck up.
I could see that in a weird way.
Yeah, my mom...
I've never met your mother or your father. Virginia Slims, in my mind, are like...
Oh, yeah.
I fucked Benny Goodman in the back of a U-Haul once.
Exactly.
And then Winston's are just like this guy who's like 73 years old hanging out in a cigar parlor in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Yeah. I have very specific, and they're very opposite from what you're telling me.
Yeah, maybe that's why they got divorced.
Both of your parents don't smoke cigarettes anymore, right?
What?
Both of your parents don't smoke cigarettes anymore, right?
My mom doesn't, but I don't know about my dad, because he always lied to me about it. But
that's fair.
I once found his cigarettes, and I hid them, and he was like, these cigarettes are Kristen's, which was my stepsister at the time. He's like, these cigarettes were Kristen. I was supposed to give them to her. Where'd you put them? And I was like, I don't know.
Cigarettes.
Sorry, cigarettes. She finds a gravestone. I didn't know it was a gravestone at the time. I was like, she finds some fucking rock with a kite?
Dude. So when she uncovered it, I thought it was some sort of like Masonic type of symbol. It was just a kite.
It's just a kite.
It was like a cross.
What?
I think I thought it was like a cross.
A cross?
Yeah.
That's what I...
Well, it makes sense. There's a cross on it.
Yeah. Like, I thought it was a cross, and then I saw the things. And I said that out loud when we were watching it. I was like, what is that? Some sort of, like, Freemason bullshit. Yeah. And it was just a kite.
Yeah. I'm like, I think it's a kite. But she, like, after she finds that, she looks up, she sees a light go on in the attic of the house.
Yeah.
In a room that she's never been in. And she's all like, oh, that's weird. She goes up. She finds what everybody might think is a wardrobe. But we find out 5 seconds later in the scene that it is a schiffer robe, y'all.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
That's what she says.
She makes the distinction. Because her husband, David, is all like, where's the lion and the witch? And she's like, it's a schiffer robe.
Yeah, she hates him.
It's not a wardrobe, it's a schiffer robe. Anyway. Her and David,
I feel like she hates
which
him.
I still don't know what it is.
I don't know what a schiffer robe is.
I don't know.
Is it like a schiffer robe, what they had in Beauty of the Beast.
That's what it looks like.
Right?
Is that what it's
that's what it
actually
reminded
called?
me of. What?
I just thought it was a wardrobe.
I've never seen Beauty and the Beast.
What?
I know, I'm sorry.
Any of them?
No. Any of the Beauty and the Beasts are more than one?
Yeah.
Y'all.
Ever.
I don't know how to describe the faces I'm seeing right now. Wait, there's really more than one?
Absolutely gagged right
There's
now.
2 different Disney versions.
Wait, are you talking about the live version?
There's a live and an animated.
Oh, okay. I thought you were thinking like a Beauty and the Beast 1 and a Beauty and the Beast 2.
Oh.
Okay.
I think there actually is like a spin-off kind of deal at some point animated. You know how that gets weird.
Is it the teapot and the teacup?
I
hope so.
I don't
I've
know.
never
It's
seen
like
it.
some sort of
But like
Christmas.
there are 2 Beauty and the Beast, 1 animated, 1.
I know one was with Hermione Granger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people talk shit on.
Really?
Yeah.
It's because they're like,
She's
she's not
not,
good
like-
at singing.
Yeah.
But
But
I thought she
has
was
a
alright.
decent voice. I don't know.
I've never
and
seen
she's a
either
smart
of them.
girl.
well,
I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for that.
So you haven't seen either.
Mm-mm.
I don't know why. I
I'm
cannot.
not sorry.
I don't know why I'm just absolutely gagged. I don't know why.
I'm sorry.
So they moved the Schiffer robe. You know, there's a ghostly apparition behind them as they move the Schiffer robe.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have a home improvement montage
Uh-huh.
where they're doing things. Well, no, she's doing things, and David is chasing the child around the outside.
Yeah. She's like putting Post-it notes up on like tiles and
What to
this needs
change
new
and what to
wood.
fix
Yeah.
and
So
everything.
much to do. Look at all that I can do.
Right.
Yeah. Ooh, rotting
Exactly.
wood, broken tiles. She receives a package of old photos and information about the house and property in the mail. And in those photos, she finds some that show a kite flying through the sky, and some that show a black German shepherd with the judge.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty shady.
I thought the
She's having problems with
picture. Oh, sorry. What?
that. What's up? It's shady.
Shady.
That's all I said.
I thought the picture with the kite was really interesting for some reason because it seemed like a black and white photo,
Yeah.
but then
Just
it,
a
like,
kite.
but then the kite was like yellow. So
Oh,
for
was
some
it?
reason
I
I
didn't
thought that
really
was
remember
interesting. Yeah,
You do
But
see
that-
black and white in color.
I do.
sometimes, though, so.
I just, I'm confused by the kite imagery because they never let her out of that room.
exactly.
I don't know why
They never bring
kite-
it back. Yeah.
Yeah, the kite is, used on the gravestone, and the kite is used as imagery throughout the movie.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I'm like, they never let her out of the house. Why are they using
Yeah.
a kite?
Yeah,
There's not even any sort of symbolism that makes sense to me. Anyway.
yeah,
No, you're right though.
Right.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Like they don't even show like a crack in the window where she could maybe like stick a kite out there and look at it. Like there's
Right.
nothing where it applies to the situation.
I was gonna say even a kite could symbolize freedom, but not even really because it's bound by a string. We're getting too deep.
It's valid though.
It's
It's ridiculous.
But not to this child's situation.
Right.
They're not free in any sense of the word.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to find something deeper about this movie because it was just
Because of what we know. It's a lot.
so Montage. She gets all these photos.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
She's preparing dinner.
Oh, dinner. Oh, yeah. First of all, this part, the succession of things that happen in the scene is really fast.
Mhm.
And it, stresses me. I have an issue when people, move too fast.
Mm-hmm.
She was took it out of the fridge, clanged it into the oven, turned on the timer, and it was just all really fast.
But she sets the timer for 40 minutes. And so she's all stressed out, you
Yeah.
said, and you can feel the tension. she starts putting away things in the kitchen. And she's putting knives into the knife block. And that's very stressful.
Yeah.
And it's showing you the, like, timer ticking down. And by the time it hits 20 minutes, she leaves because she finds a box of keys in a drawer. And she immediately thinks of that door into the attic. And so she leaves when the timer is at 20 minutes.
And both Linda and Emily were like, she's gonna burn that lasagna.
I forgot about It's when she leaves. It's when she finds the keys and she walks out and we're like, oh, fuck, the lasagna. God damn it.
I know.
Felt that.
Yeah.
So she takes her box of keys, and it's important to note that the timer is at 20 minutes.
Muy importante.
Oh,
20
okay.
minutes.
Yep. And she runs up to that room in the attic, and none of the keys work. And then she's all like, let's do the thing that I should have done in the first place and feel around the door jamb. And she finds the correct key. Top of the door jamb. Spooks! And she unlocks the door and is looking around.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then the door slams shut.
I'm sweating.
Don't
You're
sweat.
sweating?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's scary.
Oh, are you scared?
Getting locked into a room.
Oh, yeah, no, it's scary.
Oh.
That shit's scary. We all know what happens, which is not reassuring. So, she gets trapped in the room. It is a bricked-in room with a metal floor with a drain. She looks in the drain and she finds a small toy in there. And it's a little girl toy figurine thing in the drain. She starts hearing noises coming from the drain. She starts freaking out. She backs up into the wall into the door, and she sees fingernail scratches in the floor.
Yeah.
And that's stressful. It's a lot.
Isn't that what, like, because after the door shuts, because there was a moment where she, like, looks in the drain, and then all of a sudden she hears, like, all the screaming and, like, scary stuff.
Yeah, she sees, like, she starts getting, like, images of, like, a hammer, a man with a hammer, like, black German shepherd, a woman on the ground crying, and she starts just, like, having a real fucking bad time. Bad guy shit.
Seriously. Like, really just...
it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then suddenly she's lying fetal position on the floor. It's nightfall at this point. And she just hears a disembodied voice that says, he doesn't want you. Door unlocks, opens up, and she's allowed to leave.
It was at that time when she, like, looks up and the door is getting unlocked. And then behind her, you just see someone in a yellow dress just kind of, like, walking backwards behind her. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, God, we got some creepy kid.
I don't think I remember seeing that. Yeah, the door opens and she's allowed to leave. And she goes downstairs and she sees, like, David playing with Lucas. And she's hysterical. Yeah. She's like, I've been screaming for hours. I've been calling for help. But also, to note, when she comes downstairs, it's daylight. And she's asking him why he wasn't there, why he wasn't helping her. And not only does David say it, but the son says, like, we haven't heard anything. And then he says the please don't get sick again, mommy line.
Gross.
It's a lot. And then after that exchange with her husband and son, kitchen timer goes off, which... When she went upstairs, it was at 20 minutes, so she's only been gone for 20 minutes, and she's perceived it that she's been there until nightfall.
Yeah. She's like, I was there for hours and hours. Like, why didn't you come looking for me? And they're like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah. And again, the part where the timer goes off, it, like, shows it all fast again. Her taking the lasagna out, like, putting it, fucking clanking it into the oven, shutting it, setting the time, sitting there.
Yeah.
That makes sense why you feel stressed when I'm moving quickly.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like, it's too much. Like, we're at this Halloween party, and this guy, we were in the garage playing, like, beer pong, And he came up to me, and he like ran so fast up to me, and I was like, why the fuck would you just do that? Like, what? Like, don't come at me fast like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't like
I hate it when people move too fast.
When people are like slamming shit.
Yeah.
Just like moving around all fast. I'm like, stop.
It's making me
Tell me how I can make it better.
Yeah, like, what do I need to do? Throughout, like, watching the movie with subtitles, it, like, gives you, like, descriptions of sound. And it was, like, a loon calls. And I'm like, what the fuck is a loon?
A loon calls.
I looked it up. It's, like, some sort of, like, water bird. Kind
It's
of
a
like
goose.
American. I'm like, what
It's
the
a type
fuck
of
is a
goose.
loon?
It's a type of goose.
Ah.
David watches the home video. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about all the details I have. David's watching home videos. It indicates clearly that their baby had passed.
Yeah.
And that's the whole, like, trauma thing that they're working through.
Like, you're starting to piece together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's unpacking, and they see, like, a picture, like, welcome home, Catherine. And then he's watching these videos of the baby.
Dana has a vague dream about the room. She has a dream about the girl who is kept in the room and the man with his dog intimidating her.
Mm-hmm.
It's vague, whatever. She has a flashback of, she's like watching herself take meds, being miserable, and in the background, there's a baby crying. And then in real time, she dumps all of her psych meds down the toilet.
Yeah.
I mean, we presume they're psych meds because she seems like she's very depressed. And then after that, she sees the cat in her room, Rascal, and he is staring out a window. And so she looks at whatever the cat's looking at, and it is a kite. There's a kite in the sky in real time, and so she goes outside to follow it because she's like trying to figure out if she's crazy or not.
Yeah.
And then she runs into
Big Ben!
Big Ben!
I wrote down Handy Ben.
What?
Handy Ben.
Handy Ben!
Handy Ben.
Who just walks in.
Yeah.
And he's just there.
He was outside.
Okay, but either way, still just there.
On the property. Being a Ben.
Well, and she didn't even call him.
Yeah.
And she was like, what are you doing here? And he looks at the house and he's like, answering your prayers.
Ugh,
like,
gross.
oh, you're
I
awfully
hate him.
presumptuous, bro.
Ugh.
God. Like, he comes in real hot, like, right away.
Yeah. She shows him the leak and the damage. He assumes he's hired. David is encouraging shittiness. She shuts it down.
Yeah.
It's portrayed that she is being this
Unreasonable.
unreasonable woman that is, like, being naggy.
Yeah.
No.
That's how
But she's
I
just
take
being
it.
professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
And Ben, just right out of the gate, he starts coming on to her.
Yes.
He starts, like, talking all sultry. Well, is there something I can do to change your mind?
that was
Ben
really
is
good.
misogynistic and taking liberties
Seriously.
throughout the whole thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Handy Ben, the husband, like, tries to take over, and he's like, yeah, when can you start? And she's like, we haven't talked about, like, a start date. We haven't talked about pricing. We haven't talked about anything.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know if this is the person I want to be working on my project.
Yeah. And she's like, my husband will see you out. And they're like, but it's just her being a boss. She's the one running the renovation of the house.
he is escorted out.
He is
Yeah,
escorted out.
escorted out.
Dana does some searching into the history of the house. She finds a tidbit in an old newspaper about the judge's daughter's death on July 5th, which happens to be the same date as her own daughter's death,
Yeah.
which is the baby that she's lost. She communicates that she thinks that the daughter is still in the house. That is what is causing all the paranormal weirdness
Yeah.
and the feelings.
Yeah. And she was like telling her husband, like, I don't want to stay in this house. And he's like, we said we would stay here for a year, like the doctor, whatever, thinks it's good, you know.
Oh, Lucas needs stability.
Yeah,
and stuff
Lucas
like
needs
that.
stability.
It's tough, especially when you have the kid and the...
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's a fictional story, but, like, take into consideration you have a wife who's telling you this stuff and a young child who needs stability, and you're just like, what do I do?
Right? I mean, I guess he's doing the best.
But
I hate the way he holds his face.
Sucks.
You can't get over it. You cannot get over it.
I can't!
They
His
could have
fucking
found
lips,
someone
dude.
else. They could have found someone else. Anyway, Dana goes to, I think it's the Historical Society. Is that what
Yeah.
it is?
It's gotta be, yeah.
Okay. And the woman there, Judith, she explains the concept of a disappointments room, which is an actual historical term and not just a stupid name for a movie,
Mm.
which I thought it was before. Sorry, history. Even though
Sorry.
a disappointments room,
Israel.
you should be sorry. History.
Mm.
It turns out Judith is the one who sent her the photos and the information about the house previously. So they have that interaction with Judith. She goes home and there's this ladder hanging set up on the house. She goes up. Who the hell's there? But weirdo super creep handy Ben.
Ugh.
She has a weird interaction with him in which he's a super creep. And she's like, you found the line. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Stop flirting with me. Stop being a super creep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, the husband's out of town. He was like, so who's gonna keep you all nice and warm?
Mm-mm.
And
No.
she's like, and there's the line, and he said something like snotty. This guy, he looks like he's 14 years old. Like,
It
the way that he
sucks.
smokes cigarettes, that's how, like, when he holds them, it's like a 14-year-old boy trying to be cool because he's
Just-
smoking cigarettes.
Which means he probably just doesn't in real life and thinks that that's how people smoke cigarettes.
So you're used to people smoking on the work site, huh?
Yeah. I know. I fucking hate
Clearly,
this guy.
I'm a smoker. You know I'm a smoker because of the way I hold this cigarette.
Right?
Yeah. I'm a
And I say the
construction-
word work site.
Work site.
I'm a construction worker.
Which he does
Yeah.
not look like a construction worker at all. At all.
Because he looks like he's 14.
Well,
Yeah.
he's just a very clean-looking
Yeah.
young man. Like, he does not look like someone that you would assume knows what he's doing on a work site.
What is it with the dudes in this movie?
None of it adds up.
It's the
dudes in
husband.
this
I
movie,
can't
man.
deal with his face. The handyman. I just can't deal with anything about him. I don't know.
Alright, so he found the line.
So yeah,
He found the line.
she tells him to back the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. And he leaves.
So Dana's doing some more reading and research on disappointment rooms. There is, trigger warning, suicide. There is one that is focused on, that she reads about, in which a mother hanged herself after learning that her disabled son, who she kept in a disappointments room, threw himself out of the window due to her neglect. After that, she decides that she's going to go look for Lucas. It hit a chord with her, and she can't find him. Lucas is looking for Rascal, who's run off. And then Lucas finds Rascal with a ghostly little girl. They have an encounter in the hallway where they're just kind of staring at each other, and then Rascal runs away.
It kind of reminded me of The Shining.
It very much
Yeah.
of The Shining.
Yes.
Very shiny-y. Rascal runs off. So Dana she ends up in the attic trying to find Lucas, and she's in the disappointments room. She's in the attic, and then there's the doorway to the disappointments room. She sees that little girl peering out of the doorway.
She likes
She's scratching the door.
Why would she do that?
To be creepy! Ah!
cats.
So she's standing at the doorway, and she's
Only
scratching
half
the
her
door.
face
Yeah.
showing.
Only half her face.
Of course.
She's like scratching the door.
Like,
Oh, it's so fucked up. That's like the one part of that movie that really fucked me up. I was like,
and I'm like, why do you have to scratch the door like that?
They have an interaction. She says, he doesn't want you here.
Yeah,
That's it.
there it is.
And like, different from the he doesn't want you, which was kind of indicative of the little girl. He doesn't want you.
What she was feeling versus what she's telling her.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have that interaction, and Dana goes into the room, and the little girl isn't there. She's looking all over for her, and then she goes up to the window, and she looks out the window, and she sees Lucas chasing Rascal outside on the lawn. And then she sees the black German Shepherd stalking Lucas and Rascal. She starts freaking out. She's running down the stairs, through the house, all the time, like, imagining the dog tearing Lucas apart limb by limb.
And of course it's, like, giving us a montage of that.
Yeah.
Not knowing
A
if it's real or
montage of a
fake,
child.
which is a huge common theme in this, not knowing if it's real or fake.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. She goes to save him, but turns out he's fine. Nothing is stalking him. He's totally okay.
She must be crazy, right?
Of course. But he was chasing Rascal, so that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to find Rascal. They're running around in the woods and everything, blah, blah, blah. She stumbles upon Rascal. He's mutilated.
God. It's like Dennis from The Strangers.
God.
They just keep
Damn
fucking showing the face. Or lack
Why?
thereof.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Of, like, but just of a cat.
I know.
It's like Dennis from SOS.
I
Oh
I remember.
Take it back to episode 1.
God damn it, Glenn Howerton.
know, God damn
Dennis! Why'd you have to get shot?
I mean, I guess
shown
it's
a
not
million
his
times?
fault. It's the director's fault.
Yeah.
No, it's Dennis's fault.
God damn it, Glenn Howerton.
And I remember, like...
That's going to be a shirt for the podcast. God damn it.
God damn it, Glenn
Howerton. Right before, like, the cat was found dead, I said, if anything happens to that cat, I'm out. And then its face was eaten off.
It was gone.
And then it just kept showing it.
But
That's cool.
I think it harkens back to the whole, like, where he first meets the cat, and he's talking to the cat, and he says to his mom, he says he's going to protect me, and the dog was stalking them, and he's fine, but the cat still ran away, and it turns out the cat was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So
he didn't really do any protecting.
He didn't do any protecting, but he was attacked instead of the little boy.
That's
Yeah.
true. That is true.
Is what I interpreted.
So-
I like that.
Technically,
You know.
he did. He did protect.
Yeah.
He did a heckin' protect.
A heck and protect. They go back inside, and Dana finds that she had broken one of the mirrors in the process of chasing after her son. And there are paintings behind the mirrors of the judge and a faceless woman,
Oh.
which is
That's
very weird.
interesting. I didn't realize that she was faceless.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's vague.
It's
just
just
vague.
But his is
facial
very,
features.
very defined.
He definitely has a face. She has a vague impression of a face.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. And then it cuts to David meeting with his therapist, talking about his wife's hallucinations and paranoia. There's still this, like, the trauma's apparent with the baby dying.
Because doesn't the therapist say, like,
Catherine's
this would have been her
birthday.
first birthday or something?
Yeah.
Like, a few days ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or in the future, like,
Yeah.
it'll be Catherine's birthday on Sunday.
Yeah.
And, like, your wife needs friends, not, like, to be brooding and all this stuff. And then it cuts to another gross interaction with the handy bin.
Fuck that handyman guy.
I don't have details about that. It was just gross.
It was just another one of those, him being flirty,
Yeah.
and then she's just being like, bro, do your fucking job. I ain't here to fuck ya. But she also talks about the gravestone in the backyard.
Yeah, dig
she's
up
like,
the
it's-
gravestone.
Yeah, she's like, it's scaring Lucas. Do you just dig it up and make sure that it's maybe, it's just an old dog or whatever. Like, it's freaking him out, but it's really freaking her out.
Yeah. And then David is, like, making sure that she's taking her meds. She's like, nah,
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not the best idea, and...
Which is true in real life. Don't just stop taking your meds.
Yeah, don't just stop taking your meds. You know?
Yeah.
Do it with guidance.
Yeah.
You know? So she tells David that she's not taking her meds anymore. Then she goes and takes those paintings that she found and she destroys them. She tears them the fuck up. She burns them. And then it goes to the scene where the handyman is digging up the grave that she asked him to dig up. Okay, so it's a whole montage.
Yeah. Again, this movie likes montages.
They love montages.
Montage.
It maybe could have been a little better if they didn't make them just montages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It felt rushed.
Totally.
the whole movie felt rushed.
Yeah. During the montage, which is rushed, just everything, the handyman digs up the grave per Dana's request. Judith finds news articles about deaths in the house in regards to a vengeful spirit. Dana is drinking and leaves the house. Where does she go?
No one knows.
I have no idea. She just shows up back in the woods.
Yeah.
David is entertaining their friends, who eventually are like, where exactly is Dana?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have an answer.
Yeah.
My notes say the handyman is shoveled to death. So the
happy.
handyman is shoveled to death by the judge's ghost. Dana shows up to find child's grave and handyman hanging from a tree.
I hate that handyman. No offense to the actor.
He sucked.
I was like so happy to see him hanging from the tree. I was like, fuck this guy.
It
So
was
fucking.
very much like he had it coming.
I love that
Seriously.
musical. Anyway,
The paintings are back.
and they flawless.
Oh yeah.
As if they hadn't just been stabbed and burned.
Yeah.
Again, what is real? Dana goes to the disappointments room to see a ghostly scene playing out in front of her, in which the judge and the wife are caring for a deformed child. Wife is feeding the daughter, and the judge is standing there. He has a hammer in his hand. She keeps the wife is just like, you don't have to do this, everything like that. And he says, she will not embarrass me anymore. So trigger warning, she is sitting there and holding two small ceramic figurines of a girl and a gray cat, which could represent Rascal, in my mind.
Oh yeah.
And he kills her with the hammer. After he's done doing that, he walks to Dana, acknowledging that she can see his apparition, and says, you are a miserable mother. You will fail again. A daughter, and now a dead son.
Really close to her face. Like his
Yeah.
nose
He
touches
was like-
her
face.
He was
Oh.
like, last night we went and saw a comic, and she put her lips all the way on that mic. It was just resting on that mic.
Can't do that
And-
during COVID times.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
And she was like, wasn't the first act. She was like the quote unquote headliner. But that's what it reminded me of. Like, that's how close to her face
Like,
that he was.
His mouth was on her face.
Yeah, it was like resting on her cheek.
So fucked up.
Zero.
Ugh.
No bump.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But
That
yeah,
was like
so
the creepiest part of the whole movie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Him
Yeah.
just being
Yeah.
on her face.
yeah.
He walks away, and as he's walking, he's like, Amos. And the dog starts attacking her, and the whole time I can think of is, oh, his name is Amos, and he's a good boy.
Amos! Who names a dog Amos?
I know.
Ugh. He's a bad boy.
Amos is a good
Well, I mean, he's a
boy.
good boy in the sense that he did as he was told, but also
Yeah, he's...
I'm torn. Okay.
He's
a
a bad
bad
boy.
boy.
But he's not bad boy.
He's
He's a good boy in his master's bad boy
Yeah,
requests.
exactly.
Orders.
yes. In his master's bad boy request. There you go. We found it. Oh god.
Bad boys.
So, anyway, the dog's attacking Dana, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge leaves to go smother the child with a pillow. And Dana's fighting the dog, and she manages to, trigger warning, snap the dog's neck.
Straight up.
That was a lot.
That was intense.
Yeah, it gets really intense at the end, especially in this next scene.
Yeah. But at the same time, the bass didn't drop.
It never dropped.
It never dropped.
How did it never drop even with this scene? Okay, Dana escapes the dog. She runs down the stairs and starts killing the judge with the hammer. Too much. She killed him too much.
It went on for far too long.
It was a long time, that beating.
It was a lot.
When we watched it the first time, we were over Discord.
I don't even remember what I said. I just kept being like, no!
But then Courtney was on she had to leave to do a conference call.
Yeah, I had
And
a
she
work conference
came
call.
back at that part.
That's when you came back!
I came back and I saw her just beating the shit
No!
out of a pillow. And I was like,
Oh,
and like, that better not be her son. Or was it you? Anyways,
one of us.
somebody
were-
was like,
a
that
lot.
better not be her son. And I was like, oh, God. Like, I just come walking into that and I'm like, Jesus
But
Christ.
before
I told you guys no scary movies.
Before that, it was showing a way too graphic scene of her beating
Yeah.
a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
was too
in my
much.
mind,
I rewatched it, folks. I did. And it is far too long. Far too long.
is
Mm-mm.
seriously for a ghost. And
I mean, I get it. If
And-
somebody's like attacking your child, yeah, I'd fuck
That's
them up
true.
with a hammer. But nobody's probably making a movie about it.
right?
But also, if you know that you're not sure what is real or not real, and you're going to be violent towards a person that is supposedly hurting your child, you want to make sure that you're not hitting your actual child.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
terrified.
Mm-hmm.
that was like my biggest thing watching that scene. I was like, it's gonna be fucking Lucas.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna
She's
be
gonna
smacking him.
Murder her child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, good news. It turns out not to be a child. She's beating the shit out of a pillow. Next to her child.
Yes, to her child.
Who is being traumatized by his mother having a breakdown, you know.
Yeah. But it's like,
Ugh,
was
it's all
he
bad.
getting smothered?
Mommy's having a bad dream.
Yeah.
You're having a bad dream.
Yeah.
You're having a bad dream.
We have David comes and grabs Lucas. Dana is fucking wrecking a pillow.
Yeah.
Runs
absolutely.
outside, no sign of dead handyman. He's not hanging from the tree anymore.
Which is not addressed ever again.
Yeah.
Again.
Ever.
And also, why are the paintings behind mirrors? That was never addressed either. There was so much that was left. Yeah, there was so much that was left unexplained in this movie. Disappointments.
Yeah. It's a disappointments movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's the end. Kate Beckinsale's talking to what's his bucket, being like, I almost killed him. I killed Catherine. It turns out that what had happened was that she went to sleep with the baby.
Sorry.
Bless you. Trigger warning, baby death. She accidentally smothered the baby with her body while she was sleeping.
Mhm.
Which happens, and that is just terrifying.
It's
Yeah.
I can't even.
Worst case scenario, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ends with the husband takes the door off the hinges of the disappointments room in the attic, and they leave.
Mm-hmm.
But before they leave, Dana takes the small girl figurine out of the drain, takes it with her, and they're driving away, and she sees the judge in the window, and then the whole movie ends with the whole door slamming on the fucking disappointments room even after they took it off the hinges!
Right?
I hate this
Exactly. The whole movie was a disappointment room.
Yeah.
Like, I was disappointed in the room that I was watching this movie in.
Yeah.
And they just...
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
Kate Beckinsale's a blonde. That should just say it all.
Why? That's a crime even if
I know. There's a lot of choices.
Mm.
And
Well,
that
was
Was a choice.
Oh, God.
So, the story behind this movie, I didn't do any research because Emily was doing it all, and I didn't want to spoil anything about what the story actually is. So,
This is actually interesting. Except,
What the movie could have been.
the movie could have been if it didn't suck so fucking much. Anyway, so I've got the history. Ultimately, this movie was inspired by an episode of HGTV's If Walls Could Talk.
oh.
It was a 15-minute segment of this show. Here's the history. I found it on the National Registry of Historical Places from the National Park Service.
Wow.
It was based on a real home. It was a colonial-style home in Rhode Island, built in 1763 by James Tyler. It's called the James Tyler House. James Tyler was the third son of one of the area's first settlers, John Tyler. Fun fact. So way back when. After the American Revolution and his marriage to Mary Place, a second home was built on the property. And this home will eventually be given to their son, Job, and his wife, whose children, Obadiah and Mary, inherited upon James' death. So that is the way back history. The following information I got from a website called historyversushollywood.com, as well as from watching the HGTV special, or segment,
Oh.
If Walls Could Talk.
Okay.
Currently, the real home is owned by Lori and Jeff Dumas, who appeared on an episode of If Walls Could Talk in regards to their own disappointments room. The home was owned in 1857 by Judge Job Smith Carpenter and his wife Frances Ellen Carpenter, the inspiration for a judge and Mrs. Blacker in the movie, and assumed to be the builders of the room, the disappointments room in the attic. Lori bought the home before ever even meeting Jeff, which is a difference in the movie, which is the home was bought by an established couple. And she invited him to come explore the home while they were still dating. During that time, he finds a high cabinet in the basement that contained a single, letter block for children.
Wow.
You know, the ones that has,
What?
the letters on each side.
Oh, God.
That's all he found in that cabinet.
Oh, God.
They were just like, that's fucking spooky.
Oh, God.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Shortly after that, not because of the block, I'm just like, because of a spooky basement, they get married. No, shortly after that, they get married and he moves in. He's a musician, so he wanted to make plans to make a recording studio somewhere in the house.
As they do.
As they do.
Oh.
Hey, here's one. There's one in there. You know.
There's one in this very basement.
Ho ho.
Ooh.
We're so disappointing. That's not true. We're amazing. But they wanted to use this small room they found in the attic that they were just like, it's already built, why not use it for a recording studio?
Right.
Upon further inspection, they're like, the differences from the actual room and the room in the movie are just, this room is made of wooden walls. It looks like a doll's house.
What this
It's not scary. It's really sweet.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
I'm thinking, horrid conditions.
No. So, to be honest, the movie, or the house that they shot in the movie is a straight-up mansion. The house that it's based on is a relatively modest, colonial-style home.
Really?
And they, had their suspicions that it was owned by someone who was wealthy, like the judge.
Mm-hmm.
Made sense. Because it had really fine woodwork and stained glass. But this is the actual house that they're talking about.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That's not
It's
anything
so
special
small
at all.
compared to the one.
And yeah. So that's the house, and these are the These are the windows
For the disappointment
for
room.
the disappointments room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Side note, that window very much reminds me of our last neighbor's home. They had these attic windows in their house.
They were weird.
They were really weird. It was just a mom and her adult son.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I always was like, what's going on up there? What's going on? What's
Bad
going
guy
on over
shit.
there? Like, what's his story? What's going on? Yeah, anyways.
It's fucking bad guy stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was always weird, and she always wanted him to fix our cars.
What? Mm-mm. Okay, so...
Like, can you not see we're queer? Not getting with your creepy son. Sorry.
First of all, transition lenses.
Transition lenses.
Shut it down.
Yeah, anytime you see transition lenses, you gotta go.
My
That is
dad
not
had
from
transition
an
lenses.
Yeah, like, that's not from an optician's standpoint.
But this is the...
Oh, so it's just kind of a room within a room.
Yeah, it just looks like a kid's playhouse thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can actually see it.
No, I can see it.
Okay, good.
It's like a, yeah.
It kind of looks like a...
It looks like it would be the perfect studio.
Yeah. And so it's just like this little thing.
Yeah, so it's not...
It's not
that.
Yeah, where it looks like straight up padded walls, basically.
Yeah. Fucking metal floor, metal walls. This one
Yeah.
just kind of looks a little homey.
Yeah. They just...
Sounds like you've got a disappointments room.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Like... But the room itself is made of wood and seems innocuous enough, although there is a metal floor with a drain installed. On top of that, there's a one-sided doorknob with a deadbolt on outside of the door that seems suspicious. And the woman, Lori, who owns it, comments whoever was in this room was not getting out.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
So Lori works in a library, and one day she's describing the room to her coworkers, and a patron overhears her, comes up to her and gently puts a hand on hers and says, "It sounds like you have a disappointments room."
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Which is very similar to in the movie. There's
Yeah.
sounds like you have a disappointments room.
Oh,
Judith.
God.
You know.
I was kidding. Also quoting the movie, but also,
Yeah.
oh my God, I was kidding.
That's pretty, it's accurate, but not completely accurate, you know. Lori, in real life, starts researching the disappointments room, and she finds Judge Job's family. She finds the cemetery plot for the family, and on the side of the couple's gravestone reads, Ruth, 1895 to 1900, daughter of Job S. and Frances E. Carpenter. And further research into Ruth turns up nothing but a small blurb about her death at 5 years old. No birth announcement, no mention of her at all in any articles in the newspaper. Her family was very prominent in the community, and her father being a politically ambitious public figure. In Lori's words, every time the judge sneezed, there was an article about him in the paper.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, there was no mention of her in any article or anything in the paper, except there wasn't even a birth announcement for her. Only a small blurb that the judge was mourning his daughter
Yeah.
when she died at 5 years old.
So, was there anything about her being pregnant? Did they have articles about, like, a pregnancy? Was that a thing?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
know. There were birth announcements, but I don't know if there were
Yeah, I
any
guess
articles of... I didn't find anything about his wife being pregnant,
Yeah,
no.
that'd probably be dicey because of birth rates and
Yeah.
such.
But I mean, like, they wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
That's...
was it, like... I felt like in the movie, when she saw that, like, little newspaper clipping of the judge mourning the loss of his daughter, I got the impression that it was just like he was mourning the loss, like it was like stillborn or something. So
yeah.
that was
No,
my impression.
That was accurate, though. Like, the article said, like, Judge mourns loss of daughter, and it was seriously just, like, tiny little blurb in the newspaper.
Yeah.
But, yeah, nothing about her life was mentioned. This is a quote from Lori. Nothing about her life was mentioned, even though the rest of her family were always in the newspaper. In the movie, the room is shown as a bleak brick-walled dungeon. The real room, while no less inhumane, resembles more of a doll's house. The walls are wooden and are built to look like a modern playhouse. And Laurie says, I think he might have had a very sick little girl. But to this day, they decorate the room and leave it as it is in a way that, quote, little girls would appreciate, and keep it as a memorial to the home's dark past. They aim to take away some of the sadness the room represents from this history. Laurie and Jeff claims there's never been any paranormal activity, but they treat the space and the home as if Ruthie has just become part of the household.
Oh,
Wow.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They've never seen any sort of paranormal activity, but they respect it nonetheless, which I think is really cool.
Wow. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
I would just assume that it was, like, creepy from day
crazy
one.
haunted.
And they
And,
were
like,
"We
never
love
go up to the
creepy
attic
houses."
ever for any reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just assumed it was, like, those types of people, like you,
Me?
MK, about loving a creepy house and being like, ooh, yeah, this gives me creepy vibes. Love it. And I'm like, no, but I get it.
Let's move into haunted houses.
Yeah, and I'm like, never. Bring all the sage.
That's how I feel about this house, where I'm just like, I know the ghosts are here, but as long as every once in a while I just like,
You're like,
just
you're
appreciate
good.
the house, they'll appreciate me back. It's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that
Just
how it
like,
works?
Mabel, you're such a good house. And then the ghosts are like,
You're right. It is a good house.
Yeah, you're right.
you're all right.
Yeah.
It's a good house.
Girls, gotta tell them what your line is.
Yeah.
So the thing is with this is it's creepy how this isn't like a one-off. Like, from that time period, there's just this huge common theme of if you are not, quote, normal, we put you out of sight, out of mind.
It's really fucking upsetting. Like, when you find out that, like, even as shitty as the movie is, it's upsetting to know that, like, that's something that actually happened.
The history behind it is legit and worth visiting and worth talking about. The movie sucks.
The movie, horrible,
it's in the name.
But I am so glad to have learned this information.
Yeah.
Because,
it's worthwhile.
Oh, yeah.
The movie itself is worthwhile.
Yeah. You know, America really does love just putting babies in the corner.
I feel wrong for laughing at that.
Wow.
But it's true! I had to put a somewhat comedic spin on it.
No, I get it.
It's too real.
Yeah.
It's
You
too
just need
real.
to...
So we have a special guest, Linda
Simpson.
Simpson.
Linda Simpson,
go
y'all.
for the
Marge's
Simpsons.
younger sister.
Because of the story that it was inspired by, it got us to thinking about mental health treatment in general around that time. Linda worked at Rosewood. What year was it?
It was 1981.
1981.
And this was at Rosewood Center in Owings Mills, Maryland. Just after my junior year in college, and I, as a special education major, went along with several other people and our professor to do a 3-week summer course on location in this particular state hospital in Maryland. I don't remember a whole lot about the actual course content, but at the end of the 3 weeks, the place offered us college students summer jobs doing direct care for the residents of Rosewood Center. At 21 years old, I was completely unaware of the things to expect as a direct care worker. I found out originally it had been established in 1888 by the state of Maryland as a sort of an educational residential school for the feeble-minded for children between the ages of 7 and 17. And it was free for families who could not afford placements for their less than normal children. And at this school, the boys would learn things like farming and carpentry and that kind of thing. And the girls were trained in homemaking skills. Well, over time, it evolved. By the time I got there in 1981, it was largely kind of a warehousing situation for people with extensive mental and intellectual disabilities. At that time, people with disabilities were still being rated in terms of whether they were trainable or educable, etc., depending on their level of intelligence. But at this particular place, they were folks that had been institutionalized for dozens of years. And I was tasked with providing daily care tasks for grown adults who had been institutionalized for 20, 30, 40 years. Having watched this movie and having brought to bear to think about what people used to do with their less than normal children, keep them out of sight, keep them away from society, to hide them out of shame or for the safety of the community at large. That's kind of where Rosewood Center started out, was just a place to hide their shameful secret of less than normal children. I don't know why my professor chose Rosewood Center in Maryland as a destination for this 3-week course. And like I said, I don't really remember much of the coursework, but I remember staying on for like maybe another 3 weeks as an employee at this place, along with a number of my the cohort with which I was going to graduate. We lived in employee housing on campus, which had been shut down for a while, but that's where they housed us. I worked on a ward. It's a huge open room with about 30 beds, maybe a wheelchair's width between beds. And I was responsible for a certain number of people for their daily care, personal, feeding, health-wise, completely unprepared for what I was about to experience. Having been reminded of this, I did some background research on the internet concerning Rosewood Center and discovered that in the 1930s they were the center of a huge scandal. It turned out that wealthy families from Baltimore had enlisted the help of a lawyer, and the lawyer would present writs of habeas corpus, which is basically a legal request for a certain particular person to be presented physically in court. And ultimately what happened was he would draw people, residents of Rosewood Center, to court. And the path would be open for these wealthy families to adopt these residents into their households and put them to work as unpaid labor.
Jesus.
Well, these families would find that the people in question that they were taking from Rosewood were less than acceptable in terms of their intelligence, their ability to carry out tasks, and ultimately turned these people, they were mostly women, to turn them out of their homes and just put them on the streets. As a consequence, a lot of these women ended up in prostitution and other human trafficking situations. It was brought to light by a doctor, and it was a huge scandal in the 1930s. Rosewood moved quickly to address the whole situation, but it was a big scandal, especially for the super wealthy families who were exploiting them. Ultimately, the goals of Rosewood changed. American attitudes about the nature of this kind of institutionalization also changed. But when I was there in 1981, at that point, it was mostly people who had been there just about all of their life with less than acceptable standards of care. Rosewood ultimately closed in the early 2000s. There had been a long string of investigations regarding their substandard care for a lot of these folks. They stopped admitting additional people, and ultimately what happened was a number of arsons on their property, burning down different buildings, and they closed for good in 2007.
Way too recently.
Right? Yes.
Way too fucking recently.
Yeah.
I was 21 years old. I had no frame of reference for what was going on. But having been in that situation as an employee and being as idealized as I was and not knowing very much, having all of this brought back to me after watching the movie and considering what people used to do in terms of their undesirable family members, I was left with this kind of horrified feeling of, what was my professor thinking about in bringing us to Maryland from Pennsylvania to participate in this 3-week course? I earned 3 credits for this course. And to see this and to experience it, I wish that I had had a little more insight back then, because frankly, the experience was horrifying. And that was just as from the point of view of somebody working there, not as the point of view of a family member who had somebody in that situation. But it was a real phenomenon in the late 70s to early 80s to clear out the state hospitals and the state schools in, the service of least restrictive environment for people with special needs. And it greatly contributed to homelessness in cities because the mandate was to get them out, but there was no follow-up about what was going to happen to them afterwards. So as it relates to the movie, in which there was routinely some hidden space in the attic for families to hide their shameful secrets and keep their so-called defective family members out of sight, it was a horrifying kind of movie. Aside from the fact that, in my opinion, it wasn't very good. But,
it was a fucking disappointment. I mean, it's
the disappointment.
Yeah, and that these family members were disappointments in that they weren't normal. I'm putting quotation marks around normal.
Big quotes.
Yeah, so that's kind of my contribution, was having had that experience back then and not understanding while I was in it what I was participating in, which is the most shocking to me of all of it.
Yeah.
And it's got to be hard, too, just from how long ago it was. And from what I understand, you kind of kept it in the back of your mind just as, it had to have been a traumatic event just to be taking care of these people. And so just to have that kind of brought back to the surface.
Well, absolutely. It never occurred to me to ask any questions about Rosewood Center until after I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And to think that I had actually participated and I had no clue. I really, like I said, I remember very little of the coursework. I remember most vividly the huge expanse of the room with all of the beds lined up around all 4 rooms, or all 4 walls. The women that I worked with, and they were all women, the women that I worked with had worked there for 10, 20, 30 years. This was their career. And they cared for these people with less care than I have seen other folks stocking the shelves at a supermarket. And they were always playing gospel music on the radio, always. I went in with energy. I was like, yeah, let's get these 8 people that I'm in charge of. Let's get them in wheelchairs and take them outside and sit under the trees and watch the leaves move around in the wind. And I'll blow bubbles for them and I'll play music for them and sing songs to them. And they were totally unresponsive. My experiences there were heartbreaking. And I didn't think of any of them again until I saw this movie. You know what? Here's the thing that I remember the most about that experience was that me and my fellow students that chose to stay afterwards for employment were housed on campus in housing, and I actually slapped a bitch awake one night.
You slapped a bitch awake.
I slapped her awake. She was my roommate, and I was sleeping on the bed next to her. They were double occupancy rooms. Think kind of like little motel rooms. It was like that. And something kept tickling my leg. I thought that she was teasing me. I thought she was reaching over and tickling my leg when I was asleep. So I got up and I slapped this shit out of her. She was dead asleep. There was a moth. There was a huge moth, like as long as my thumb, that was flapping around the room and kept landing on the back of my leg. And I thought it was my roommate messing with me And I slapped her awake and told her to knock it the fuck off. That was my biggest takeaway from the 6 weeks that I was there that summer. Aside from just the desolation of that was the first experience I had of having a job that felt like it was trying to suck my soul out of.
Wow.
It was so heartbreaking.
Also, too, you've told me that story before.
About the moth.
About the moth.
Yeah.
But, as like a funny like anecdote, something that you experienced or whatever, there wasn't ever any like tie-in with why you were at that place. It was just that you were on this program with your school to get credits and experience. I never knew about like the details of that experience until Linda's my mom, by the way. I never mentioned that. I talk to her very often. But like I had never heard anything about Rosewood except for the moth story until we were watching this movie and we were talking about it. Yeah. So, I mean,
and having watched the movie kind of like took me down the whole rabbit hole of looking up to see what Rosewood was really about at that time. Mm-hmm. It brought back a lot of stuff, and it's taken me at least a week to come to terms with it and to be able to talk about it and how awful it was. But yeah, the moth story and slapping that poor woman away. Because I thought she was teasing me, That job made me so sad that while my fellow students were like fucking off to Baltimore to go to clubs and concerts and stuff, I sat at home and read books and looked at the wall and did a lot of sleeping. I didn't realize that what I was doing was in response to the kind of work that was expected of me.
Right.
Wow.
But yeah, I feel so bad for her. Nobody deserves to be slapped awake out of a sound sleep. I hit her hard. I remember my hand stung.
I mean, it also kind of speaks to, like, your mental state that if somebody's tickling you, you slap the shit out of them.
Like, fuck this place.
and fuck that moth in particular.
Fuck that moth. Fuck this place.
But yeah, ultimately, I just was like, it was a hard summer. And by the time that was over, like half my summer was over, and I was done.
Wow.
All of my work experience in special education up until that time had been with children. I was not prepared for this prospect of working with adults who had been institutionalized for a long, long time, and at what they become. It was horrifying then, but I kind of like pushed it down and never really thought about it again. And now we have shows like, what was it? American Horror Story. What was that?
Asylum.
Asylum. That was the second season, yeah.
Yeah, Asylum.
I mean, that was extreme, but not really fucked up shit.
The characters the characters that we encountered in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I love that book. I like the book better. Sorry.
What? It's represented in film across decades. Maybe exaggerated. On the other hand, maybe not so exaggerated.
So you were talking about things like the care, bathing, and feeding. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, when it came to bathing, for instance, I was assigned 8 people that I was responsible for. I don't know what the ratios, the care standards were back then, but I was assigned 8 particular residents. There was a definite kind of rhythm to the day. By the time I reported for work, they had already been awakened and had their diapers changed, and they were all in cloth diapers. So imagine putting cloth diapers on somebody who weighs like 160 pounds, and you're using regular safety pins, but that had already been done. They needed assistance in feeding, and a good many of them were on pureed food, so it's basically essentially baby food that I would have to spoon into their mouths. They had various degrees of ability to swallow, so I also had to make sure that their faces stayed clean and their clothes didn't get soiled and all of that other stuff. Bathing day was a whole other thing. There were no bathtubs. There were no showers. What they had were essentially ceramic, think of like the drain boards next to your bathroom sink. But they were long ceramic tables a little bit inclined so the water would run down toward a drain. And there were, 8 of these in a room. No curtains around them or anything. Overhead spray hoses. You would have the orderlies would come and lift them out of their wheelchairs and lay them on these ceramic slab things and wash them like you're washing
Dishes.
Yeah.
That's the only thing
dishes.
That's
Or
horrible.
it was something that I was not prepared for. And you had to get 8 people done in a certain amount of time. And then the orderlies would help with getting them back into their wheelchairs. And then, you have to go and help them put some kind of clothes back on. Yeah, it was rough. But at that point in my time, I had only had a limited amount of experience with changing diapers on small children.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that the people that I was helping were cooperating. I would have grown men fighting me and resisting getting their diapers pinned or getting their socks on. It was daunting. It was daunting. And I thought that none of these people had family that came to visit them.
Oh,
None
God.
of them, people, nobody ever came to visit them. Nobody ever came and brought them treats or did anything.
Or even
with
come
them.
to say hello.
No,
Wow.
never. And
So sad.
it was. It makes you wonder.
Sorry, that was the worst time you started laughing.
I was like, why are
God damn it, Paul!
Oliver's
I'm like, ha ha.
No.
I'm like, it's so sad. And you're like,
It's like I just see Oliver and then Paul. Like, God damn it.
I go
We
straight
needed
for
that.
Courtney.
actually.
Yeah, that was kind of a good thing to
Yeah.
lighten the mood because that was getting really maudlin and really
Yeah.
sad.
Hi, Lee.
But yeah, that was
Mr. Lee.
probably the worst job I ever worked at.
God, I can only imagine.
That's traumatic.
There's a reason why I ended up in early childhood education, specifically with the babies, the infants. That turned out to be the work that meant the most to me. But,
Yeah.
having watched this movie and how it threw me back and made me remember stuff that I had pushed down was
God,
phenomenal.
yeah.
It was phenomenal. It was something else.
You were there for a total of 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But 3 working.
Yeah,
Like
three
working.
weeks for the coursework. And as I recall, I got an A. Just because I was there. And then I was there. I was there for about 3 weeks as an employee.
Oh, how much? What did you get paid?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember. In fact, I really hadn't given any thought about my whole employment experience until this movie came up.
Wow.
And the whole, business of talking about it for the podcast emerged. So I did hit Google and learn about some of the history of the place that I had been at. But while I was there, I had no idea. I really did not. And of course, 81, where are you going to find records? It's not like there was internet. It's not like this kind of stuff would show up in an encyclopedia. Even now, I can't access the Maryland state records regarding Rosewood unless I put in writing a request to the state to have access to the records. And even then, the only records I can get are the ones that are of administrative import, that are articles, that are photographs of the grounds, because obviously they have to observe the confidentiality of the residents and the employees that works there. God, I don't remember how much I got paid. I was just happy. I was just happy to get out of Maryland and go back home at the end of that.
It seems like it was a lot for you to, recount. This type of situation with this movie was enough to be like, oh my God, I remember this. And not only that, it was very traumatic. And it makes me curious about the people who, like you were saying, that were there for 20 to 30 years.
As
were
residents or as employees?
Employees.
Oh, yeah, that, I never came close to understanding those women. And I say women because women were the ones who were in direct care. There were orderlies that were male that were around for doing the heavy lifting. and for transport and that sort of thing. But it was women who did the direct care. I can't observe it objectively because I lived it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so wild.
Do you remember any specific instance that made you go, okay, I can't work here anymore?
Nope. I think for me it was definitely just the day-to-day and a gradual wearing down. I just got sadder and sadder. I had no frame of reference for what brought those people to that place for so long. And I'm talking about the residents. The extent of their disabilities, what caused them to become bedridden and to be that. I mean, I had, of my 8 people, I had 2 or 3 women that were regularly restrained by their wrists to the bedsides because they were chronic masturbators.
Oh, wow.
They had so little sensory input that's what they did just to have some kind of sensory input.
Oh, my God.
That scandalized their caregivers, their primary caregivers, so that they would tie their wrists to the bed rails so that they couldn't reach their genitals to stimulate themselves. I mean, I saw stuff like that. I met people who ate their own shit.
Wow.
I met people who, like, put their hands down their throats and made themselves throw up just for the sensory stimulation of it. And they would be restrained or otherwise forcibly discouraged from doing anything like that. And these people were doing that just so that they had some kind of sensory thing going on, because they were never touched outside of some kind of utilitarian way, never affectionately held, never stroked, never touched. They, at the most, maybe somebody would wipe their mouth during eating or touch their arms during bathing or something like that. It was a thing where I got to see, like, these people indulging in all kinds of behaviors just to get some kind of input, sensory thing, like whether they were puking on themselves or playing with their feces or masturbating or whatever. They were doing it out of a need to have some kind of something. It was very hard for 21-year-old me to see that and to, just to see it.
Wow.
The understanding didn't come until a lot later after that. But to have to live like that, it was hard. It was hard. And no wonder I tried to not think about it for 4 years.
No wonder you blocked it out.
You. Oh, Jesus.
But on the other hand, I got to smack a bitch.
Yes, smack someone.
You got to get
directly out of
some
her
of that
sleep,
energy
just
out.
whack.
Right?
Because I thought she was.
I can't blame you for wanting to smack the shit out of somebody.
Right? That sounds awful.
It was.
All
it was
of
rough.
that.
It was rough. And
All
it
that
was
stress.
It was only for a few weeks. Going to that job day after day for 20 years.
Desensitizing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God, I couldn't. Just hearing your account from 6 weeks of being there.
It was barely like a brush in the dark, compared to what the residents went through and what the employees were expected to deal with.
Yeah. That's fucking
For
wild.
this it was like, I'm like, nope, I'm going back to Philly.
Yeah.
So in the times when, I'm sorry, I just have all these questions. So in these times when they weren't getting fed or bathed, were they just in beds? Like they just didn't have anything to do?
Pretty much. I do recall there were younger residents that I encountered during the coursework part, where they had actually had physical therapists and occupational therapists prescribe them different activities and things to do in a so-called classroom setting. And we toured those and we participated in that. And we're talking about individuals who could lie on their side and support their own weight while they were lifting an object and putting it in a bucket. That was being able to do that. Or to point to letters on a board, that kind of thing. People that were profoundly impaired. Younger people, maybe in their teens, their early 20s. And those were folks, and I remember a music program where there would be singing, and we would give the residents like rattles and things to hold and shake in time to music and that kind of thing, and encourage them to at least vocalize to music. But like I said, I don't remember a whole lot of the actual coursework. But that's not the people that I was working with when I was
An employee.
right. Yeah. As an employee, I was thrown into like the wards and I don't know what else to call them.
So, in the warehouse setting that you're talking about how many beds would you say were stuffed into that warehouse?
The floor, the section that I was in, the floor that I was in, we had at least 24 people. Because I remember there were 8 residents to each of us on the floor. So 24, maybe 32. Mm-hmm. But I do remember how the beds were all lined up around the room with the heads of the beds against the wall and the feet of the bed sticking out towards the center of the room. Mm. And the space in between each bed was just a little bit wider than a wheelchair. So they were all very close to each other. Mm. By today's standards, I'm thinking like in early childhood education, the standard, primarily my experience was in Pennsylvania, that it is required for the cribs to be 3 to 4 feet apart from each other. That's now. A wheelchair is typically 24 to 30 inches wide, unless it's a special kind of wheelchair. Mm. That's extra wide for a large person, but the standard was just not too much wider than like an airplane seat. Mm. And that was all the space between the beds.
That's a lot of people in one room.
It's a lot of people in one room. Yeah. It's a lot of people in one room. And it was all in one room.
And considering the space between them, it's very cramped. Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing.
I'm so glad that you encouraged
so
me
special.
You are
so
special. Yeah.
We love you, Linda.
I love you too.
Yeah.
My mama, buddy.
Yay, thank you, Linda. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, to get like a first-hand experience is really insane and really interesting, because it's like you'll never know what it's like unless you've been there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't last long.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't. God. It sounds like totally life-sucking.
It was rough, and I gave up after a few weeks, and I called my dad, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I'm coming home.
Good
and
call.
I ran my ass back to Philadelphia because I couldn't take it anymore.
Thank you again, Linda. I appreciate it.
Linda.
That's amazing. That's like
Pleasure.
such a great
Thank you for having
story. Yeah.
me.
I love you.
Oh, I love you.
Huzzah!
Your mom's a badass.
Yeah,
Linda,
seriously.
thanks for being on the pod.
Linda, you're the best. I love you.
Thank you, Linda. Seriously, that it's just also wild to me how people were treated in this mental institution, and it's just like they were left to sleep in the dirt or in a room full of 50 beds. Like, it was just such horrendous conditions.
Yeah. Just mass graves being found in America and North America, all over the place, just for being who you are.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, that fucking history.
It's
man.
shameful.
It really is. Like, America, get your shit together.
I hope we can learn from these things, and that's why we talk about these things, right?
That's why we talk about it.
Yeah, I had no idea about Disappointment's Room until this movie.
Yep.
As shitty as the movie is, it really brings to light some, like...
It brings awareness to it.
Yeah.
Haunting themes in supposed modern times.
So many people know about, like, the shameful shit about, asylums and mental institutions and state hospitals and stuff like that, but there's also the actual personal lives of the families who keep them in their homes.
Yeah.
It's like the shame of nobility or whatever, like the secrets of nobility.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, the higher up their status is, they can't have this baby that has a deformed face or
isn't quote-unquote normal.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed my bummer of a choice of the movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the podcast is about, I feel like, is bringing to light the things that we learn from movies, because they're all based off of really crazy stories.
Yeah.
That I want to learn more about, so thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Exactly.
And thank you.
Like,
Thank you for
what
haunting
are-
my dreams.
I'm so sorry.
No.
I'm like the scary movie.
Yeah, but no, this is why we do the podcast.
Hell
is
yeah.
The stories behind the movies are #inspiring.
Hashtag.
But yeah, that's the disappointments room. If you want to be really disappointed in a movie, watch this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in the title.
The bass never drops.
Kate, I am so sorry that you had to be a part of this film, because you are so much better.
I'm so sorry that they dyed your hair blonde.
Never go blonde
I hope
again.
that was just a wig. I really hope that was just a wig.
Me too.
Ugh.
So bad.
Monster
Your
Mash.
beautiful brunette hair. Just hope it never...
We're just like, put it back, please.
They did her dirty with that blonde hair.
Real talk.
So
Wrong.
dirty.
Ugh.
But anyway.
Anyway, we love you all.
Mm-hmm.
And rate, review, and subscribe.
We're those people now.
Or those people, I know. Every
We're those
time.
people.
We are on Instagram at
Inspired
Inspired by
by
Movies
Movies.
Pod. Email us at inspiredbythepodcast@gmail.com. And
Do the thing.
do the thing.
Do
We're
the damn thing.
Thank you so much for listening. Do all the things. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.